class is called Side Body Stretch. We're going to be focusing on stretching the sides of our body from above the pelvis to the shoulders. That means we're going to be doing a lot of lateral movements or side to side movements, some thoracic rotation, and a little bit of work with the shoulder blades so that we can really free up the sides of the body, starting with our 360 breath. So we're going to come to a seated position, or you can lie down in Shavasana to start. We'll bring the hands to the ribs. Close your eyes. Check in with how you're sitting. And right away, just start to bring your awareness to your breath. Really feeling the ribs underneath your fingers. Work on feeling the whole rib cage expand as you breathe in. Fully exhaling. So even with this 360 breath, as we expand the ribs on the inhale, we're already getting into that side body movement by almost creating more space in between each rib. Expanding the breath in the sides of the body. Focusing on the ribs expanding side to side as you breathe in, but also front and back. So our ribs are getting this full 360-degree expansion. Fully exhaling. So even though our hands are probably on the top part of the ribs, we want to be able to feel even the lower ribs expand on the inhale. So it's a really big side body expansion, front and the back of the body expansion, all the way from the top ribs down to the bottom of the ribs. We'll try to keep this breath for the rest of the practice, feeling that 360-degree expansion in the rib cage. You can open your eyes. We're going to make our way onto our backs for bridge pose. So we'll come onto our back, feeling our triple S. The back of the skull is on the ground or the mat, your shoulder blades or your scapula, and your sacrum right above your tailbone. So make sure there's no gap between your low back and the mat. We're going to make a universal fist with our hands, which means you can either interlace the fingers if that feels okay, or you can make two fists and just hold those fists together. So we're going to start with the hands in either of those clasped options. Press into your feet. Imagine curling your tailbone up as if you could just lift the tailbone up off the ground. And then we're going to hold this feeling of our two pelvic points drawing in toward each other as we lift into a low bridge. Now we're not going to lift very high. Really press your feet down into the ground. Feel your glutes firm, so you want to squeeze the glutes. Imagine lifting your pubic bone up towards your belly so that we really have this neutral pelvis. We're going to hold here and reach that universal fist up toward the ceiling. So our fingertips will reach up, or those two fists will reach up. And what we're doing by really reaching our hands up toward the ceiling is protracting our shoulder blades. So when we protract our shoulder blades, they move away from each other, or they move away from the spine, the center of the body. So we're really reaching, reaching, reaching. Hold that reach as you slowly lower your upper back, middle back, lower back, all the way until the sacrum comes down. Keep reaching those shoulder blades, and then release the shoulder blades back onto the ground. Hands will come behind your head. Draw your elbows in. Again, check that your low back is on the mat and we're not arching the back, which is tipping the pelvis. We want to hold the sacrum down. Take an inhale here. Full expansion in the ribs. And then exhale out all the way. Knit those front ribs in as you lift up. So we're just doing a tiny little lift off the shoulder blades. Tuck your chin towards your throat so the neck is neutral. Draw those pelvic points in like you did for bridge. Inhale to lower, head comes down. Exhale as you lift. Knit those front ribs in. Draw those pelvic points in. Now look at where your belly button is and imagine lowering your belly button or pulling it down toward the mat. Inhale to lower. Exhale as you lift. Chin towards your throat, belly button draws down. We're going to turn just in the rib cage 1 or 2 inches to the right. Try to stay off your right shoulder blade. Come back to center. Inhale to lower. Exhale as you lift. Knit those front ribs in. Draw those pelvic points in. Turn your rib cage 1 inch to the left. Try to stay off that left shoulder blade. Come back to center. Inhale to lower. Release your arms down. We're going to come into a seated position. Sit however you'd like with the legs, but we're going to sit with our triple S stacking, just like when we were on the mat. So we want a feeling of the back of our skull, shoulder blades, and sacrum all being in a straight line. Shoulders will stack right on top of the pelvis. Sit up tall, reach your right arm up. Now we're going to practice lifting the right shoulder blade, so elevating that right scapula. So almost feel as if the whole right side of your body is lifting up toward the ceiling. Let your left ear come to the shoulder, and we'll keep this lifting feeling and just take this lift over toward the left, coming into a side body stretch. So again, we want to feel this nice stretch all along the right side of the body. 360 inhale. Come back up, release it down, switch sides, left arm up, really lift everything on your left side up. Left rib cage lifts, left shoulder blade, left fingertips. Ear will release to the right shoulder. Keep this lifting feeling, lift and take it over toward the right. So we don't want anything to change in our posture. We want everything to stay really upright, just focusing on getting this lateral stretch. So this stretch in the left side of the body. Come back up, release it down. Bring your right ear to your shoulder to stretch the left side of the neck. But again, don't let those shoulders round forward. And we're going to roll the left shoulder up and back. Moving the scapula, the shoulder, stretching the neck. Come back up, left ear to the shoulder, but keep that nice upright posture. Right shoulder will roll back. Really move the shoulder blade, the scapula. Come back up. Bring your right palm forward. Fingers will face down. Elbow comes in toward the ribs. We're going to take the left thumb, bring it behind the right hand. Fingers will come in front and we'll pull those right fingertips back, coming into a big stretch for that right wrist or right forearm. Feel free to exhale through your mouth. Switching sides, left palm forward, fingers down. Elbow comes in, right thumb comes to the back of the left hand. Fingers come in front, pull back. Big breaths in and out. Roll your wrists in both directions, however it feels good. And we'll come onto quadruped, coming onto hands and knees. Shoulders will line up right over your wrists. Hips right over the knees. We'll move through cat-cow to start. Warming up the back, letting the pelvis tip forward and back. So when the pelvis tips forward, it looks like the low back arching. When the pelvis tips backwards, it looks like we're tucking the tailbone under or rounding the back. So just move at any pace that feels good. Come back to your quadruped. Make sure your shoulders are over your wrists. Lift the front of your throat up toward the ceiling so the head isn't dropping. We'll head into downward dog by tucking the toes under. Slowly lifting the pelvis straight up. Do this really slowly so that your torso stays as close to the thighs as possible, and let the feet walk in as much as you'd like. We're going to have a big bend in the knees, so we'll want to be in a pretty short downward dog stance because we're going to crouch a little bit side to side to stretch the side body. So you're going to let the knees and toes turn to the left And then really start to bend the knees as if you're sitting back into your hips, but keep the arms really strong. So we still want that feeling of lifting those front ribs up, keeping the weight in the arms, and then come back through center. Walk the knees and toes toward the right and bend the knees as much as you want. So we're doing a little crouch here, side to side. Move at any pace that feels good. But we're going to keep this feeling of pressing into the hands and keeping the arms really straight and strong. So as we move and stretch the lower body, we're not going to let the chest sink down while we do this. We're going to keep this feeling of lifting the front ribs up while we focus on stretching the side body. So you could be feeling a stretch in a lot of different places here, but this is a good way to get the QL, which is a really big muscle that attaches from the back of the pelvis all the way up toward the upper back. And for a lot of low back pain, the QL is usually involved. So we really want to be able to mobilize that area by getting this nice stretch in the lower back or lower sides of the torso. Good. When you're ready, make your way back to quadruped. From quadruped, step your right foot through your hands for a low lunge, and we'll lift up, checking that same feeling of our triple S being stacked. The back of your skull, shoulder blades, and sacrum all in one straight line, lifting the pubic bone up toward the belly button. So lifting the pubic bone up, really holding that neutral pelvis, is going to help us get a stretch in the front of that left hip. But it's really active, so we're not going to let anything sink down. We're really using our strength to get a little bit of stretch here. We'll make that same universal fist we did in bridge. So fingers can interlace, or you can make two fists and bring them together. Protract your shoulder blades like we did in bridge pose. Reach those hands forward so your shoulder blades move away from the spine. And then we're going to lift to whatever degree feels good in the shoulders without popping the ribs. So we don't want to lift so high that we have to pop the ribs or arch the back. We want to hold that really strong triple S alignment and lift wherever you can. So maybe it's more diagonal, and really reach, reach, reach up. Now, once you find as much reach as you can get, keep squeezing that left glute, and we're going to shimmy our ribs side to side. So we're just doing this really small side bend in the ribs. So just think about the ribs and up doing the moving. We're not moving in the pelvis side to side. So just shimmying the ribs, getting this nice stretch in the upper part of the sides of your torso. Holding still in the pelvis and the legs. Go as slowly as you'd like. Keep that reach. Good. Come back up. You can either lower your hands to this right thigh or lower the hands down as we swivel this left foot around toward the side of the mat. If your hands were already on the thighs, great. If your hands were on the ground, we're going to try to lift up here. So we're in this stance that's almost like a kneeling warrior two. Zipper that pubic bone up again. Squeeze this left glute, almost like we're in this kneeling warrior two position. Bring your right forearm down or your right hand down, resting on that right thigh. Reach your left arm up. As you reach the left shoulder blade up, think about this whole left side of your body lifting. Rib cage, shoulder blade, fingertips. Keep that lift and side bend any amount toward the right. So now we're getting this bigger stretch along the left side of the body, maybe all the way from that QL or that side low torso up to the ribs, maybe all the way up into that lat shoulder area. Let the head relax. Big 360 breaths. Good. Come back to quadruped. We'll lower the hands, swing that left foot back around. Make your way to quadruped, and we'll take a child's pose, sitting the hips back toward the heels. Knees can come as wide as you'd like. We'll walk the hands over toward the right corner of the mat. Maybe left palm comes on top of the right so that we get this nice side body stretch along the left side. So it's the same side we just stretched. Feel that 360 breath move all the way toward that left shoulder blade, as if you could breathe up to the left side of the back ribs. Come back to center. Make your way back to quadruped. Other side, left foot steps through. Right knee stays down. Lift up for that low lunge. Think about that broom behind your back, touching the back of your skull, shoulder blades, sacrum. Lift your pubic bone up toward the belly, so it might almost feel like tucking the tailbone under to get this big active stretch in that right hip flexor. Squeeze your right glute. Make that universal fist, either fingers together or make two fists, bring the fists together. Protract your shoulder blades, so feel your shoulder blades spread apart. Take this lift to whatever degree feels good in the ribs and the shoulders without popping out of your alignment, and really reach up so everything is actively lifting up. The rib cage, the shoulder blades, the fingers, and we're going to keep this lift and shimmy the ribs side to side. So try to feel just the upper part of your torso moving without your hips or your pelvis shifting. So we're really focusing on this lateral stretch in the ribs. Move as slowly as you'd like. Keep squeezing that right glute. Good. Lower the hands or bring them to your left thigh as we swivel this right foot around, meeting in this kneeling position, almost like a warrior two. Now the tailbone grounds straight down, pubic bone lifts up toward the belly, and we're going to squeeze this right glute. Reach your right arm up. Find that big lift all along the right side of the body. So the shoulder blade reaches up, fingertips reach up, even the right side of the ribs, but keep squeezing that right glute. Now keep this lift and side bend any amount to the left. Maybe this left forearm comes down. Feel that 360 expansion in the rib cage. Hold that neutral pelvis. Good. Come back to your quadruped. Lower the hands, right foot swivels back to the center. Quadruped, and then child's pose. Knees can come as wide as you'd like. Hands will walk toward the top left corner of the mat. Maybe right hand comes on top of the left. So now we're feeling a stretch along the right side of the body, right side of the torso. Imagine that you could send your breath up towards your right shoulder blade. Come back to your center. Back to quadruped. Right foot will step through again. Tuck the left toes under if that feels okay in the left foot and left knee. Lifting up again. Check that feeling of your neutral pelvis. Drawing those two pelvic points in, lifting the pubic bone up, squeezing this left glute. Arms are going to reach up. Now without popping the ribs, so really feel like you're knitting those front ribs together. We're going to reach the shoulder blades up toward the ears and then lower them down. Lift the shoulder blades up toward the ears. Lower them down. So we're elevating the scapula, lifting them up. Back down. One more. Lift the shoulder blades up and down. Now we'll goal post the arms, bending the elbows. Arms come out to the side without popping the ribs. So again, knit those front ribs in. Draw the shoulder blades together just a little bit so you really feel the shoulder blades on the back of the ribs. We're going to think about keeping the spine really long, so lift up and just rotate in the ribs toward the right leg, toward the left leg. It's a really small rotation, maybe just 1 inch, but hold the arms really strong. Shoulder blades stay on the ribs. Pelvis stays neutral. Come back to center, lower your hands, scoot your left knee even closer to that left hand, shortening the stance as we kick that left foot out to the side. Right foot will step back for modified side plank. So we want to check in with this left shoulder blade, squeeze it in toward the ribs. So we're retracting a little bit. Let the left ear release to the shoulder. Now check the pelvis. We don't want it tipping forward or arching the back. That will pop the ribs. So we want to keep that feeling of the broom behind the back, lifting the pubic bone up, knitting those front ribs in. Right arm will reach up, and then any amount, bring this right arm up toward the top of the mat to get this big stretch along the right side of the body. Keep zipping that pubic bone up toward the belly button. Glutes are active. Big active stretch. Good, come back to your quadruped. Left foot steps through. Maybe we tuck the toes, low lunge. Lift up, check that feeling of the broom behind your back. Knit those front ribs in, reach your arms up. Without anything else moving, reach the shoulder blades up and down. Reach the shoulder blades up and down. Don't let the pelvis move, just the shoulder blades gliding up and down. One more, lift the shoulder blades up and down. Goal post your arms, knit the front ribs in, draw the shoulder blades back a little bit so you can feel the shoulder blades tack onto the back of the ribs. We're gonna keep squeezing that right glute. Think about the top of your head lifting up. Keep that lift as we rotate just in the ribs, maybe 1 inch to the left. Back to center, maybe 1 inch to the right. Back to center. The only thing that's moving is the ribs. So we're just rotating the ribs, the thoracic spine a little bit from side to side, holding that feeling of the shoulder blades on the back of your ribs. Come back to center, lower the hands, scoot your right knee even closer to that right hand. Kick your right foot out to the side to help you balance as the left foot steps back, modified side plank. Check in with this right shoulder. It should be right over the wrist crease. Now squeeze that right shoulder blade in toward the ribs. Right ear will release, zipper the pubic bone up, knit those front ribs in, reach that left arm up and then stretch it up and over toward the front of the mat. So we want that same reaching feeling even in the shoulder blade, reaching that left shoulder blade up toward the ear. Firm that left glute, zipper the pubic bone to the belly. Lower back to quadruped. You can either take cat-cow, or you can go back to downward dog and maybe add a little bit of that crouching here. Moving the knees side to side, keeping the arms straight and strong. When you're ready, make your way into a seated position. Sit however you'd like, but again, think about that broom behind your back. Reach your right arm up. Lift the right shoulder blade. Bend at the elbow if this feels like a good place to stop your stretch. Stick with this or grab on with that left hand. Now right away, make sure we haven't flared the ribs. Knit them in. Focus on the ribs expanding side to side here. So as you take these big inhales, notice if you feel like there's any more length or space along the sides of your body. Release that left hand down. Right arm will come toward the left ear. Pull the head to the right as much as you'd like. You can stay still or add some more of those shoulder rolls with the left side. Come back up, release it down. Left arm up, lift the left scapula up, bend at the elbow, stick with this or grab on with the right hand. Knit those front ribs in so the ribs don't flare. Feel the side to side expansion in the ribs as you breathe in. Really feeling as if we've got more space between the ribs and along the side of the body now. Release that right hand down. Left hand comes toward the ear. Pull the head to the left. Stick with this or add some circles up and back with that right shoulder. Come back up, release it down. We'll come to our backs, getting ready for a twist. Knees will bend, roll all the way to your right side. Now take any option with your right arm that feels comfortable. It can extend out, it could be up overhead, it could be bent. We're gonna start with the left palm, reaching over toward the right. Now try not to twist in the low back, so keep that feeling of your neutral pelvis as this left arm opens up and back toward the other side of your mat. You can goalpost that left arm if that feels better. So just like we've practiced, we're rotating only in the thoracic spine, right where the ribs are. So we don't want to turn or twist in the low back. The head can rest anywhere. Notice if you can feel that 360 breath even as you rotate. Undo your twist. Roll back through center and we'll head to the left side. So you'll roll onto your left side. Keep that feeling of the broom behind your back. Right arm will start over toward the left. Open this right arm up and back any amount. Maybe goalposting that right arm if that feels good. Keep that feeling of lifting your pubic bone to the belly. Big breaths in and out. Undo your twist. Roll back to center. Whenever you're ready, make your way into any option for Shavasana. Eyes will close. Knees can stay bent with the feet on the mat, or take any other option. Remember the feeling of your hands on your rib cage as you do that big 360 inhale. And as you breathe here now, keep feeling the whole rib cage expand as you breathe in, letting it all the way out as you exhale. Take a moment to thank yourself for your practice today. Sending one grateful thought out into the universe.